There's an age-old expression in photography that the best camera you have is the one you have in your pocket. And for a lot of us now, that's a smartphone. So today we're going to go through 5 main tips to get the most out of the camera on your phone. Number 1 is super simple, partly because we've got it in our pocket and we'll get it out potentially with our fingers over the lens, or when we're moving it around or doing something else, we'll quite often get our fingers or other sticky things from our pocket over the lenses. First tip is just to make sure your lenses are clean, super simple. And the easiest way to do that is with a nice clean microfiber cloth. Make sure it's nice and clean and cleaned regularly. And we're just going to breathe over our lenses to get a bit of mist, and in a bit of a circular pattern, just clean them off. If there's any like big chunks of dust or anything, we can blow them off to start with. These lenses are actually quite vulnerable. They're reset in the case that I've got here, but they are vulnerable to scratching and particularly sticky fingers. I can see a big old fingerprint on this one. So I'm just going to get a bit of mist and then go over with my microfiber cloth, checking it in the sunlight to make sure that there's no smears or anything like that. And that straight away, super simple, will get me a better photograph than if I hadn't done that. Number 2 is providing stability. These cameras are really, really quick now. They have a fast shutter speed, and you quite often see people, if you go up to London or something like that, like pretty much walking along, getting their snaps as they go. And it will work because they've compensated with the cameras, but you'll get a much better shot if you've got loads of stability. So the first thing is just how to hold your camera properly. With a lot of these cameras now, one of the volume buttons or a button along the side will provide you with a shutter. So we can actually hold it much like a little compact camera with our fingers and thumbs way back from the lens. If you've got an ultra wide lens, it's quite easy if you just like holding it to get your finger in the way. So if we're back like this, straight away that's a better position. Just like with a normal camera, if we then tuck our elbows in and get a bit of stability around it, we've got a much sort of firmer platform then in order to stop the shake. If we're in a more sort of natural position, we might be able to even get our knees up and brace our knees so that we've got a nice sort of locked off position. Particularly if you're doing any video type stuff, you can get a really nice stable position like that. So we don't want to see any kind of like waving along, taking pictures as you go. You want to get into a nice position like that. Some cases where you can get add-ons will also come with a finger slot, and again that gives you a nice bit of stability as you're going around, that you can really get your elbows in and give yourself a nice bit of stability. So that's stage 1. Stage 2 would be starting to introduce a trusty tripod, or potentially if you wanted to go lighter weight, you could use a smaller lightweight Gorilla Pod type tripod. And these phone clips are super cheap. Just an extendable clamp, get all sorts of different types. We can just clip it in, and then straight away, just like a normal camera, we've got it locked off on a tripod. Super stable. Or lighter weight, we could use the Gorilla Pod, put that around random objects. Lovely and stable. Another super lightweight option is just using a piece of cord, and all I've done here is tied a knot in the end so that I can put it into my hand without it slipping through. I can then brace up on my phone and put the end of the rope around my foot, and then by pulling up so I've got tension on the cord, I've created myself a nice bit of stability. It's not as good as a tripod, but as a super lightweight option that you can just have in your pocket, that will give you a much more stable platform if you're doing photography when you're standing up and you can't get into that braced position. My third tip is to use the exposure and focus lock. So when you're just pointing at something, the phone will decide what it wants to focus in on. If you want to decide a specific subject, we can just touch on the screen. This is the same on most phones. Obviously there's a bit of variation, and we normally get some kind of either green or yellow box around the subject that we focused in on. If we wanted to lock that, we can again, depending on what kind of phone you've got, you can either double tap on it, or sometimes like on an iPhone there's a little sunshine that we can pull up and down to change the exposure, or we can hold down on that subject in order to keep the lock. So it will depend on what kind of phone you've got. you need to look up the instruction, but there will be some kind of way to lock the exposure, how much light is coming into the camera, and to lock the focus point of what you're focusing on, which if it's a portrait or a nice wildflower photography or something like that, that's super useful. Your camera will always try and get you an even spread with exposure, so quite often when you've got a specific thing that you're trying to photograph, it's worth getting the exposure right for that, and that will involve that little bit of adjustment. And although that's hiding on most people's phones, a lot of people don't know that they've got that control of changing the exposure to get it just right for what you want. For a bonus top tip when you're on a tripod, if you go to the extra menu, again, depending on what kind of camera you've got, with an iPhone it's the little additional arrowy bit, chevron, in the corner, you will have an option for putting it on timer. So for a bit of extra stability, put it on a 3-second timer, and that means when you press the trigger, you can then go hands-free for 3 seconds. There's no vibration in the camera, and it will go and do its thing. Number 4 is making sure you've got the grid on your phone activated. So when you're looking through the phone, you've got the grid going on there. A lot of phones this is just like how it is. Other ones you need to switch it on. I've got on the back of mine what we call the rule of thirds, that the screen is divided into 3 columns and 3 rows, and that will really help my composition, because if I want a starter for 10, I can put my really interesting stuff on the intersections of those lines. So wherever one of those lines intersects, if I get like an eyeball on that, or the real focal point of the flower on that, that will give me a pleasing composition to start with. Obviously there's loads of different ways to compose photographs, but the rule of thirds is a really nice one if you're starting out. So rather than having things framed centrally like I am now, I might have myself over to the side on the rule of thirds with something else going on over here, like a camera for example. I might even use that as the thumbnail. My 5th tip is to explore, again, depending on camera, what features you've got that you can get a little bit more out of your photograph. So a lot of cameras now, for example, allow you to activate RAW mode. And what this will do is give a lot more data coming in on the sensor, and that allows you to muck around with it more in post essentially. So if you want quick snaps of just like what you're doing during the day, RAW is probably not for you. You want to just get a quick image off the camera. But if you're taking more sort of photographic shots of whatever kind, nature shots, landscape shots, then you might want to have a little look at RAW, because you're going to get a lot more data into your camera, into your phone, that you can edit afterwards. You can bring the colors up, you can change the amount of brightness, darkness that you've got going on. It gives you a lot more flexibility of what you can play with. And I've talked about it before in videos, but you quite often also have features that allow you to do things like long exposure. So on an iPhone, again, that's by putting it into live mode. You take your picture and it actually takes a little burst of video that it then compresses together to give you a kind of long exposure type effect. So there's quite a few different things, and all the different cameras, all the different phones that come out have got these different, some are gimmicky, but some give you quite creative options. So it's quite fun to explore some of those. But certainly RAW will get you a lot more out of your shot if you're photographing something special. So I hope that's useful, folks. As I say, this is a camera that a lot of people will have in their pocket, and a lot of people will be using on a daily basis. But there's those few little things that I've talked about, dead simple, will get you a lot more out of your photograph, and give you a bit more delight every time you take a shot with it and come back with some fantastic shots. For me, it's still not at a point that it will replace my main camera, but I'm getting increasingly excited about taking photographs on my phone, because it is just so much more portable. It's there all the time. I don't have to worry about it quite so much. So it is a great photographic device, and I'm really enjoying doing like what I would consider proper photography, but with my phone now. And I think as time goes on, that's just going to go from strength to strength. Thanks so much for watching, folks. And as always, if you've got any other top tips or questions, particularly if you've got different types of phone, I'm quite iPhone centric simply because I've got one, but I'm not one of these is like iPhones are the only way to go. There's a lot of good phones out there. and obviously the settings are different on every phone. So if you've got a Samsung or a Nokia or a Sony or whatever else, please, for the benefit of others, please do put some comments in of things that you found with your phone, and where you find those settings and things. That would be great, and we can all learn together. Cheers folks, see you in the next one.